The text came late, just past 10 p.m., lighting up my phone in the dark. "Sweetheart, we need to talk about the trip. We've decided to postpone it until next year." I stared at the message, my heart sinking like a stone in deep water. Postponed? We'd been planning this family vacation for months, our first real getaway together in nearly a decade. I'd shuffled my work schedule at the cafe, saved every dime, skipped takeout and new clothes just to help pitch in. I even offered to pay my own airfare. I'd counted down the days like a kid waiting for Christmas morning. Without thinking, I dialed my mom. She picked up with a sigh. "Rachel, I know you're disappointed, but things are just tight right now. We can't afford it." I clenched my jaw, forcing myself to stay calm. I understood money problems. Heck, I'd been picking up extra shifts for months just to make this trip happen. But something in her voice, like the decision had been made long before that message, stung more than I expected. I swallowed hard. "If it's about the cost, maybe we could cut it short or find a cheaper place. There's that motel off Route 12 with the decent reviews. Or..." She interrupted me, soft but firm. "Rachel, it's just not the right time. We'll do it next year. I promise a promise. One I should have known better than to believe." 2 days later, on my lunch break, I was scrolling through Facebook while nursing a lukewarm cup of coffee. That's when I saw it. A photo of my mom and dad standing on a sandy beach somewhere tropical. They were smiling, sun-kissed, and relaxed, holding fruity cocktails with little umbrellas. The ocean shimmered behind them like a postcard. My stomach turned. I scrolled further, faster. There was Brandon, my younger brother, grinning next to his girlfriend on a boat. My parents laughing over plates of lobster at a seafood joint. Caption after caption, "Family time is priceless." Family time without me. Because according to them, the trip had been postponed. I locked my phone and just sat there at the cafe counter, frozen. I wanted to believe there was some explanation. Maybe it was a last-minute gift, a surprise trip someone else funded. But no. Deep down, I knew. They didn't postpone the trip. They just chose to leave me out of it. That night, I didn't call. I didn't comment on the posts or send a passive-aggressive message. I just watched day after day as more photos went up. Bonfires on the beach, snorkeling adventures, sunset dinners. And as I sat there alone, the betrayal cut deeper than I'd expected. This wasn't just about a missed vacation. It was about every birthday they forgot. Every Christmas where Brandon got the exact tech gadget he wanted, while I got a candle or a last-minute sweater from the clearance bin. Every time I dropped everything to help them, but they never did the same. They thought I wouldn't say anything. They thought I'd be too hurt, too passive to confront them. They were wrong. A week later, I heard the familiar rumble of a taxi pulling into the driveway. From the kitchen window, I watched them step out. My mom, dad, and Brandon dragging their suitcases behind them. They looked tired, but happy. Tan lines, beach hair, that after-vacation glow. They didn't know I'd seen the photos. Not yet. The front door opened. My mom's voice rang out, just a little too cheery. "Rachel, oh sweetheart, I missed you. How've you been?" I folded my arms. "Busy," I said flatly. My dad followed her in, dropping his bags with a thud. "That's good. How's work?" I let out a humorless laugh. "Work? That's all I've been doing. Work and scrolling through Facebook." Brandon yawned and stretched, looking smug. "Man, I'm wiped. Traveling really takes it out of you." He smirked. "Hope you held down the fort while we were gone." While we were gone. Like it was just a normal trip. Like I hadn't spent the last week watching my own family make memories. Without me. No more pretending. No more swallowing the pain. They had chosen to leave me out, And now it was my turn to decide what came next. Normal. Like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't spent the last 7 days replaying their betrayal like a broken record stuck on the same painful note. I took a slow breath, steadying myself. No more pretending. I turned to my mom, my voice calm but razor sharp. "So, how was the trip?" She blinked, startled. "Oh, well, we just needed a little getaway. Nothing too special." Liar. Without a word, I pulled out my phone, tapped it awake, and turned the screen toward them. The photo album glowed under the kitchen light, the beach selfie, the boat ride, the fancy dinner under string lights, cocktails in hand. And then the one that hit hardest, the caption. "Family time is priceless." I tilted my head. "Looks special to me." Silence fell, thick and suffocating. Then my mom let out a nervous laugh. "Rachel, just don't," I snapped, my voice cutting through the room like a winter wind. My dad tried to step in. "Sweetheart, it wasn't—" "Stop," I said, louder this time. "Just tell me the truth. You never postponed anything. You just didn't want me there." I saw it, the flicker of guilt in my mother's eyes before she tried to hide it behind another excuse. "It wasn't like that, honey. We just thought—" "What? That I wouldn't notice?" My voice cracked. "That I wouldn't see the photos? That I'd be stupid enough to believe your lie?" Brandon groaned and rolled his eyes. "Oh my God, Rachel. Are you seriously making this into a big deal? It was just a trip." Just a trip. The words hit harder than I expected. The trip I planned. The one I saved for. The one I rearranged my life around. I shook my head slowly. "You could have told me the truth. Instead, you lied. You made me feel like I wasn't worth bringing." Brandon scoffed. "You're being dramatic." I let out a bitter laugh. "No, Brandon. For once, I'm being honest." My mom reached for my hand. "Rachel, please." I stepped back. "Number, not this time. They needed to hear this." "This isn't just about the trip," I said, my voice shaking now. "It's about every single time I've been treated like an afterthought. Every holiday where Brandon got exactly what he wanted and I got whatever was easy. Every birthday I spent alone. Every time I made sacrifices for this family and you didn't even notice." I paused, trying to hold back the tears. "I thought if I worked hard enough, if I gave enough, I'd finally be enough for you. But I never was. Was I?" Silence. Finally, my mom whispered, "It's not like we love Brandon more than you." I gave her a tight, bitter smile. "Maybe you don't, but it sure feels that way." Another silence, and that was my answer. I nodded, grabbed my purse, and headed toward the door. "Rachel, where are you going?" my dad called out. I didn't look back. "Somewhere I'm actually wanted." And just like that, I walked out. For the first time in my life, I chose myself. The days that followed were strange. My phone buzzed nonstop. Calls, texts, voicemails. I ignored them all. I was done fixing things. It felt unnatural at first. I'd always been the peacekeeper, the one who smoothed things over, who called first, who swallowed the pain to keep the family intact. But not this time. This time, the silence wasn't cold. It felt like freedom. By the 5th day, their messages shifted tone. At first, they were dismissive, trying to regain control. "Rachel, we need to talk. You're blowing this out of proportion. Ignoring us isn't going to change anything. Call your mother." "Jesus, Rachel, get over it. You're acting like a child." Classic. They weren't sorry. They were just uncomfortable. But when I still didn't respond, the tone changed. "Sweetheart, please, we miss you. We never meant to hurt you. We should have handled things differently. Let's talk. I feel awful. I can't sleep knowing you're upset with us." And for a brief moment, I almost answered. Almost. But then I asked myself the question that mattered most. If I hadn't seen those pictures, would they have ever told me the truth? The answer was painful, but clear. Number. So I let the silence stretch. It wasn't easy. Years of old habits whispered at me. Maybe you're overreacting. Maybe you should just let it go. But then I'd remember the text saying the trip was postponed, the laughter in those photos, the lie, and I'd hold my ground. For the first time in my life, I wasn't reaching out first. I wasn't checking in to see if they were okay. I wasn't the glue holding everything together. They could figure it out. Or not. Either way, I wasn't begging for love anymore. They weren't reaching out because they missed me. They were reaching out because they missed what I used to do for them. The role I played, the fixer, the peacekeeper, the quiet afterthought who never made waves, who held the family together while slowly unraveling herself. And now that I'd stopped playing that role, they were lost. And I wasn't rushing in to save them. A week after they got back, I did something I had never done before. I booked a weekend trip just for me. Nothing fancy, just a quiet cabin up in the Smoky Mountains about a 4-hour drive away. It had a fireplace, a screen porch, and no cell signal. That was the point. I packed a duffel bag, grabbed my keys, and didn't tell anyone where I was going. Not because I wanted to hurt them, but because for once, I wasn't asking for permission. I wasn't waiting to be invited or included. I wasn't trying to earn my spot. I was just living for me. And it felt incredible. When I got back late Sunday night, my phone lit up with missed calls, texts, and voicemails, some worried, some annoyed, but I didn't rush to reply. I let it sit. I let them sit with the silence, the uncertainty. Because that's what they had asked of me, without words, when they boarded a plane without a second thought. But they weren't used to that version of me. They didn't know what to do with the daughter who didn't bend. So when the silence stretched longer than they expected, they showed up. I knew they would. The moment I ignored their calls, their messages, their guilt-laced check-ins, I knew this was coming. So when I heard the knock on my door that Saturday afternoon, I wasn't surprised. I set down my coffee, took a breath, and opened the door. There they were, my mom and dad standing on my front porch. But they looked different, not angry, not defensive, not full of excuses. They looked nervous. "Rachel," my mom said softly, clutching her purse like a lifeline. "Can we come in?" I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Depends," I said evenly. "Are you here to actually listen? Or to tell me why I'm wrong for being hurt?" My dad exhaled. "We're here to talk. Really talk." I studied their faces. There was no edge in their voices. No gaslighting, no, "But you should understand." Just two people, awkward, uncomfortable, finally asking instead of demanding. That was new. I stepped aside. "Fine, come in." We moved to the living room. My mom sat on the couch, her hands folded tightly in her lap. My dad stayed standing like he wasn't sure if he had the right to sit. I took the chair across from them, arms still folded, heart steady. It was my mom who finally spoke. "I don't know where to start," she admitted. I met her eyes. "The truth is a good place." She flinched a little, but nodded. My dad ran a hand over his face and said, "We messed up." That caught me off guard. My mom's eyes dropped to her hands. "Rachel, when we said the trip was postponed, it was a lie. No excuses, no sugarcoating, just the truth." I swallowed, my throat tight. "Why?" She hesitated, then said, "We thought it would be easier." There it was again, that word. I clenched my jaw. "Easier for who?" Silence. "For you?" I pressed. "For Brandon?" I laughed, bitter and low. Because it sure as hell wasn't easier for me. My dad looked like he'd aged 10 years in one breath. We didn't think it would hurt you this much, I scoffed. No, you didn't think at all. My mom's voice cracked. We thought you'd understand. That word again, understand being left out, understand being lied to, understand that my place in the family came with conditions. I leaned forward, staring at them both. Tell me the truth. If I hadn't seen those photos, would you have ever told me? They didn't answer. That was my answer. I swallowed the lump in my throat, forcing my voice to stay steady. Do you have any idea what it felt like to see you all smiling, celebrating, making memories, without me? To know I wasn't even a second thought? My mom's eyes welled up. Rachel, we love you. I shook my head. You don't treat people you love like that. My dad sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. We failed you, sweetheart. We should have told you the truth. I looked at them, tired. Why are you really here? To apologize or to make yourselves feel better? They paused. Then my mom said quietly, both. At least that was honest. We sat in silence for a while. No one rushed to fill it. Then she said, I don't know how to fix this. I took a deep breath. Years of second place, of being invisible, of not being enough. All of it sat on my shoulders like bricks. And in that moment, I realized something. I didn't need them to fix it. I just needed them to see it. I don't know either, I admitted, but I know this. I'm not going to be the one to fix it for you. Not this time. My dad nodded slowly, the weight settling in his expression. My mom wiped her eyes. What do we do now? She asked softly. I met her gaze. That's up to you. Because apologies are easy. Change is the hard part. And if they wanted me in their lives again, they'd have to do more than just say the right words. They'd have to live them, of being treated like an afterthought. That's what all of this had been about. Not the trip, not the photos, not even the lies. It was the years of feeling like a background character in my own family. And if things were ever going to change, it wouldn't be through another apology. Apologies were easy. Change was hard. After my parents left that day, I didn't feel relieved. I didn't feel like anything had been healed. Yes, they admitted their mistake. Yes, they said the right words. But I'd heard those words before, empty and weightless. This time, I wasn't interested in promises. I wanted proof. So, for the first time in my life, I didn't go out of my way to reach out. I didn't send a good morning text. I didn't check in to ask if they needed anything. I didn't share updates about my life just to feel connected. I stepped back and waited. At first, nothing happened. Days passed, then a week, then 2, and that silence? It hurt more than I wanted to admit. Because part of me still hoped they'd try. Part of me still wanted to be shown I mattered. But when the silence dragged on, I thought, well, there it is. That's the proof I needed. If I wasn't the one putting in the effort, there was no effort at all. I should have expected it. But somehow, it still broke something inside me. Then, on a random Tuesday morning, my phone lit up. A missed call from Mom. I didn't answer. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a text came through. Mom, hey sweetheart, just thinking about you. Hope you're doing okay? I stared at the message, heart caught between resentment and longing. A part of me wanted to delete it. Another part, the one that had always waited for any sign that they truly cared, just froze. I didn't reply. Not right away. I waited. The next day, a message came from Dad. Dad, miss you, kid. Let's get dinner sometime. My fingers hovered over the screen. Not because I was ready to let them back in, but because, for the first time, They were trying. Not demanding, not guilt-tripping. Trying. I agreed to dinner, not because everything was fine, not because I was ready to move on, but because I needed to see if they were serious. We met at a quiet restaurant on Main Street. Just the three of us. No Brandon. That alone told me they'd been paying attention. We ordered simple meals. Grilled salmon, a couple burgers, iced teas. Nothing extravagant. But the conversation? That was new. They asked about me. Not about work, not about how I could help them, not about what Brandon was doing, just me. And for the first time in a long while, they actually listened. Halfway through dinner, my mom cleared her throat. "We've been thinking a lot about what you said," she began. Her voice was soft, cautious. "About how we've treated you." I didn't say anything, just took a sip of my water. "We always assumed," she continued, "that you didn't need us as much, that you were strong, independent, and because of that, we didn't try as hard. We didn't think you needed the same attention Brandon did." I met her eyes. "And now," she added, voice shaking slightly, "we know that was wrong." I turned to Dad. He nodded. "We see it now, Rachel. We really do." For a moment, I didn't know what to say, because those were the words I had waited my entire life to hear. And yet, part of me still didn't believe them. Not yet. But by the time dinner ended, something had shifted, not in a dramatic, tearful, everything is healed kind of way, but in a quieter sense of maybe. Maybe this time they meant it. Maybe this time they were willing to put in the work. That was enough, for now. Still, I wasn't naive. One dinner doesn't erase years of feeling forgotten. One conversation doesn't rebuild trust. If they truly wanted to fix things, they'd have to prove it. And the first real test came exactly a week later. My birthday. If history had taught me anything, it was that birthdays in our family had never been fair. Brandon always got the works, parties, big gifts, reservations at his favorite steakhouse. Me? A text, if they remembered. Maybe a card that arrived a few days late. So this year, I told myself not to expect anything. I told myself I wouldn't care. But deep down, there was still that small, vulnerable part of me. The part that still hoped. At 10 a.m. sharp, just as I was sipping my morning coffee, there was a knock at the door. I frowned, set the mug down, and opened it. And there they were, my mom and Dad, standing on my porch with a store-bought chocolate cake and a single candle. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," my mom said with a nervous smile. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. They had never done this before. Not once. They didn't just drop it off and leave, either. They came in, stayed. We spent the afternoon just talking. Nothing big, no gifts, no speeches, no grand gestures. Just presence. And that was everything. Later that week, something else happened. I had mentioned a big presentation at work during that dinner, just in passing. On the morning of it, I got a text. "Mom, thinking of you today. You're going to do great. Dad, proud of you, kiddo. Let us know how it goes." I stared at my phone, stunned. They remembered. They were trying. It wasn't perfect. Not yet. But for the first time, they weren't just saying they cared. They were showing it. And for someone who had spent a lifetime feeling like she didn't matter, that meant more than any apology ever could. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," my mom said, offering me a tentative smile. I blinked at them, still processing what I was seeing. "You remembered?" My dad let out a soft chuckle. "Of course we did." And for the first time in years, I actually believed him. They didn't just drop off the cake and rush out the door like it was a chore on their list. Number. They stayed. We spent the afternoon at my place, just talking, laughing a little, catching up. Nothing extravagant, no big gifts, no party, just a chocolate cake that was a little too sweet and slightly lopsided, but it was mine. And more importantly, they were there. They wanted to be there. There were no awkward silences or rushed goodbyes. No sense that I was an obligation or an afterthought. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be, with people who wanted to be with me. And I hadn't realized how badly I'd needed that until I finally had it. A few weeks later, they proved it again. I had a big presentation at work, the kind that had kept me up at night for weeks, rehearsing in my head, second-guessing every word on the slides. I'd mentioned it briefly over dinner one evening, just a passing comment. I hadn't expected them to remember, but the morning of the presentation, my phone buzzed. "Mom, thinking of you today. You're going to do great." Then a few minutes later, "Dad, let us know how it goes, kiddo. Proud of you no matter what." I stared at my phone, stunned. It was such a small thing. A text. But for me, it meant the world, because they'd never done that before. They'd never remembered the little things, the things that mattered to me. But now, they were making the effort. It wasn't perfect. Sometimes old habits would creep back in. My mom still had moments where she defaulted to making excuses for Brandon, and my dad still struggled to say more than a few words at a time. But now, they noticed it. They caught themselves. They tried. And that effort, that mattered. One night, a few months later, my mom called. Not for anything in particular, just to talk. About the weather, about her new garden, about a show she thought I'd like. At one point, the conversation turned quiet, and she said softly, "I know it's going to take time." I waited. "For you to trust us again," she added carefully. I swallowed hard. "Yeah." There was a pause, then she said, "We're not giving up, Rachel. You're too important to us." And for the first time, I believed her. Change didn't happen overnight. I still had moments where I braced myself for disappointment, where I waited for the other shoe to drop. But weeks passed, then months, and they kept showing up. Not perfectly, but consistently. And that was new. One evening, I was sitting on my back porch with a cup of tea, watching the sun dip below the trees, when my phone buzzed. A message from Mom. No apology, no guilt trip, just, "Mom, thinking of you. How's your week going?" I stared at the screen, a slow warmth spreading through my chest. That kind of message wouldn't have existed a year ago. That kind of presence wouldn't have existed a year ago. A few weeks later, I got another surprise. I had been saving for a trip, a real one, a solo vacation, just me and my passport. I hadn't told my family much about it, not because I was hiding it, but because I didn't want the weight of their opinions. I wanted something that was mine. Then one night during dinner, my dad looked up from his menu and asked, "So, when's your trip?" I blinked. "You remember?" He smirked. "Of course, it's Italy, right?" My mom nodded beside him. "We were actually talking about it the other day. Do you need help with anything? Packing, planning?" I studied them carefully, waiting for the catch. But there wasn't one. They weren't offering because they wanted something in return. They weren't asking so they could judge or control. They were just trying to be part of my life. And that was new. The night before my flight, I got a text from Brandon. I almost didn't open it. Part of me was still cautious with him, still unsure of where we stood, but curiosity got the better of me. "Brandon, Mom won't say it, but she's freaking out about you traveling alone. You know how she is." I rolled my eyes. Classic. Then another message popped up. "Brandon, you're doing it, huh? Living your life on your own terms." I paused before replying. Me. "Yeah, I am." There was a long silence before his final message came through. Brandon, that's kind of badass, sis. When I stepped off the plane in Rome, it hit me. The weight of the last year, all the waiting, waiting to be seen, waiting to be included, waiting for someone to tell me I mattered. But I wasn't waiting anymore. I was choosing myself. And somehow, in doing that, by no longer chasing their approval, they had finally started showing up for me. A few days into the trip, I was sitting outside a cafe near the Spanish Steps, sipping espresso and journaling when my phone buzzed again. A group message. Mom, we just saw your latest photos. Rome looks amazing. Call us soon. We miss you. I smiled, not because I needed their approval, not because I was still seeking their validation, but because they meant it. For the first time, the words weren't hollow. They weren't performative. They were real. And for the first time in my life, that was enough. I used to think I had to earn love, that I had to prove myself, that if I just tried harder, stayed quieter, gave more, they'd finally see me. But now I knew better. You shouldn't have to beg to be loved. You shouldn't have to fight to be included. And if the people around you don't see your worth, choose yourself. Because sometimes the moment you stop waiting to be seen is the moment they finally look up and realize you were there all along. And if they don't, you're still whole without them, because you were always enough. You were always enough. There comes a point in life when silence says more than words ever could. For Rachel, it wasn't just a canceled trip. It was a lifetime of being overlooked, of giving and never receiving, of loving without feeling loved back. Her story reminds us that the deepest wounds often come not from strangers, but from the people closest to us. Many of us, especially those of us in midlife, have worn the title of peacekeeper, the glue that holds everything together. We've bent ourselves to keep others comfortable, swallowed hurt for the sake of harmony, and waited patiently for the recognition that never came. Rachel's story is a powerful reminder we don't have to do that anymore. Choosing yourself is not selfish, it's necessary. There is strength in stepping away from those who only notice your absence, not your presence. There is healing in creating boundaries, in no longer accepting crumbs when you deserve the whole seat at the table. Family doesn't always get it right. Sometimes they grow, sometimes they don't. But whether they come around or not, your worth isn't defined by how others treat you. It's defined by how you choose to treat yourself. So if you've ever felt like an afterthought, know this. You are not too sensitive. You are not asking for too much. And you don't have to prove your value to anyone who keeps failing to see it. Let Rachel's story be your turning point too. You don't need permission to matter. You don't need approval to belong. You are always enough, just as you are.